So thank you for joining us today for our Parts Inventory 101. This is part of a webinar series that we are currently doing where we dive into MaintainX features just to give you an overview of how the system works and hopefully get some more insight as to how it could be helpful for you. This one, like I say, Parts Inventory, it's a beginner's guide to digitizing your inventory. It's going to be hosted by me. I'm Mary. I'm a customer success manager here at MaintainX, which means essentially my role is, if you're an existing customer, to make you happy, to make sure you're getting the most value out of the software and ensure that everything's working for you just the way it should. So some of you may already work with me and some of you may work with me in the future. To those of you who I don't know, hello. Also going to be hosted by my colleague, Nick, who we have right here. Nick is our customer support manager. Nick, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, yes, my name is Nick Sankar. I am the manager of customer support. So I am your eyes and ears on the support channel. So any questions relating to features, functionalities, how can I cut my grass? Like I am there where that expands. You know, we're here for 24 hours, 5 days a week. And of course, I'm here on the weekend as well. So any questions, I am that smile, that happy face to help you with any questions, and looking forward to meeting each and every one of you guys.
Absolutely. And just before we get going, before we get started and everything, I did want to draw your attention to the fact we do have a Q&A box available there. So if you have any questions, anything you'd like us to go over, we will be hosting a Q&A section at the end. Nick is going to be keeping an eye on that channel. He will be responding to some things as we go, saving some things for us to answer together at the end. So don't be shy, put any thoughts you have in there, and we will absolutely make sure to have those addressed for you. All right. Let's kick it off. So here's what we're going to be discussing today. Just a little bit of an introduction to get us started, and then we'll talk about why we should ideally be using parts inventory. Varies for everyone, but we'll dig into that a bit deeper. I'm then going to be giving a live parts inventory demo where I'll show you how to create a part, how to restock a part, and how to use a part in a work order as well. So we'll make sure that you have a visual on that. If you've not seen it before, it'll become very clear. And then we'll discuss a little bit how to begin using parts inventory. So that would be both, how do you get going in the first place? And then how do you start actioning parts inventory? How do you get those insights that you're ultimately looking for from your parts? And then, like I say, we've got our live Q&A, so make sure to stick around for that section as well. Little introduction, bit about MaintainX. Our mission here, as some of you may know, is to transform the way that frontline professionals manage the equipment and facilities that power our world. We're building for the long term, pushing innovation in mobile workflows, real-time analytics, and open APIs. And we partner with our customers. We have a world-class team here that develops and supports our product with industry expertise in manufacturing, facilities, and more. And hopefully by seeing Nick and I here today, we're real people and we're here, always happy to help you guys out in any way that we can. You can also see some of our recent awards on the right-hand side there. They're a few of many, but we're very, very proud of those. And here we have some leading companies that trust MaintainX with their operations. So you can see there's some familiar faces there that I'm sure you're aware of. But one thing I always like to highlight on this slide is that MaintainX is useful for everyone. We have some very large multinational corporations that use our software and love it in their day-to-day, all the way down through to mom and pop shops who find use out of it and find value and have it power their operations as well. So really, wherever you fall on that scale, that doesn't matter. We're here to help you in any way that we can. Isn't that right, Nick? Nick and team, always happy to answer questions.
We're here and happy.
So to kick us off, we have a Zoom poll here. We're interested to know how you are currently managing your parts inventory. So you should see a poll screen there for you. If you'd like to pop an answer in there, we'll get a grasp of how we're looking across the board here. All right, so looking at those responses there, we've got about a third of you using MaintainX now, which is great. I hope this session you can get some insights how to deepen that usage or maybe just increase your familiarity there. Smallest section currently using an ERP. That is a common thing that we come across with newer customers. And then again, we have about, let's call that 50% there with no formal tracking or using a spreadsheet. So both of those options are what I would consider to be the manual work. portion of parts inventory. And that's what we're here to help with today, is hopefully reducing the amount of work that takes you. Of course, parts is always going to be something that you have to manage, that you need to stay on top of. But if we can help reduce the amount of time that that takes out of your day and the effort level there, we'd be more than happy to do so. Why? Why do we want to do that? You know, it's all very well and good for you to say that, Mary, but why do we want to actually care about our parts inventory? Well, there's many advantages here to using a formalized inventory management system. First things first, we want to provide clarity for technicians on asset and part compatibility. Obviously, not every part goes with every asset and vice versa. So we want to have somewhere that information is stored so that your technicians know exactly what they need to be using in every repair. That's going to save you time and save you a lot of questions and just a lot of headaches answering the same questions all of the time. We also want to save some time searching for parts in a facility or a storeroom. You know, I know how big some of your parts storerooms are, and I know how many hundreds of thousands of parts that we have available in there. You don't want people going around all the time wondering, what bin am I looking in? What shelf, what drawer, what area am I going to? You want all that information centralized in one place so that when there's a job that comes in, we know what part we need to use based on that asset, and I know exactly where I'm going to go and find it. Thirdly, we're looking at accurately tracking costs associated with work orders to improve our financial insights. How do you currently know when to replace an asset? How do you know what's costing you the most in terms of your parts? When we are doing, you know, kind of the eyeballing method, as I call it, just knowing when we need to reorder things, or even using a spreadsheet, which is, you know, very two-dimensional, those are the insights that either we're not able to get or that it takes a lot of data manipulation and a lot of work to get to. So with a system like MaintainX, where everything's pulled in together, that's going to save you a lot of steps and have that information readily accessible at your fingertips. We also want to reduce our bottlenecks. So by using our minimum quantity levels and alerts, we can reorder critical items before running out of stock. And as we all know, lead times are a little bit crazy right now. So anything we can do to help automate that process, that's a plus in my book. So let's hop into it, shall we? I'm going to come across here to what I'm hoping for many of you is a very familiar screen. This is, of course, MaintainX platform. This is my demo account right here. So not a real one, but I'm hoping it looks good to you. Let's head into parts inventory. So first things first, let's create a part in here. How do we do that? Well, if we're doing the one-by-one method, and we'll discuss other methods later, you're going to head up here into the top right corner and click on Add New Part. We're going to put a name in here. What do I make it today? A ball bearing. I can add in a picture, which I just so happen to have available. And we can put in the amount of units that we have in stock. So I'm going to have 25 units in stock. And I'm going to put these at a cost of $2.28 a unit. And I'm going to put a minimum in stock value here of 10. What that is going to do for us is when we go below our minimum in stock value, I'm going to highlight in red and we'll know how to reorder. More on that in a second. You can add in a description. We can put in a manufacturer. I'm going to put my cycle count as 3 right here. And you can even have the system generate QR codes or barcodes for your parts. I'm going to tag this part as a critical part, and I'm going to select where it's located. So this one is actually in our maintenance shop, and I'm going to put it in bin 14N, again, to denote exactly where you need to go to get this. You can tag a part to multiple assets, whatever is going to be relevant. There's no limit on the amount that you can put in here. So I am going to put it on my forklift fleet, and I think I'm going to get rid of that one. There we go. Now I have everything I need right in there. I can even select a team that I want to put in charge if relevant, and I can choose my vendor as well. So I've got US air compressors right here. And if relevant, you can put in your vendor's ordering part number as well. So it can be helpful just to centralize that information so you don't have to look in, you know, a million different places for the same thing. If you have any additional documentation that you'd like to add, you can put that in files as well. I'm going to press create. And there we go. We have our part right there. So I went through and I really fleshed out this part. Something I would say you should bear in mind is that you don't need to have all this information to get started. The things that I would say are critical would, of course, be the name. definitely want to record the amount that you have in stock. And I would recommend putting in a minimum in stock and a unit cost as well as the asset. Those, for my customers, I would say are the 5 most important things, because those are what's going to help you get those insights that we were talking about a little earlier. So we have our part right here. You notice I've tagged it as critical. What a critical part does is it kind of marks it as something that is essential for our workflows, for our day-to-day jobs. As soon as we go below our minimum in stock value, as I mentioned, it's going to be highlighted in red here. You can filter by needs restock. This will pull up a list of everything that you need to order in, which you can do, separately, or you could also mass select and create a purchase order right here and do that through MaintainX. We're going to be doing another session on purchase orders. Don't you worry, we'll come back to that in another webinar, but just know that that's a capability there for now. For a critical part, it goes one step further. The system is not going to let you, not notice that the critical part has gone below its minimum threshold. It's going to send you a notification. It's going to email you. It's going to make sure that you see we're below that amount so you can get it ordered in as soon as possible. And ideally, get everything back in place before we hit 0. But negative inventory is something you can enable if that's something that you like for your workflows. So we've discussed creating a part. Now, how do we restock a part? How do we use it? We can do that manually right here. We can go on plus restock, and I can put in, okay, I've added 3 to inventory, and I can even leave a note right here. I'm going to get that reordered. That's my reorder number right there. And I can confirm that restock. Pretty simple, right? To add something back to your inventory. Pretty simple, Nick? Pretty simple. I'm getting a nod.
Very, very simple. Answering a bunch of questions here. I've got you.
Good, good. I'm glad the questions are coming in. Now, what about if we want to take this out of our inventory? Well, you have 2 ways to do that. The first thing that you can do is, again, through that restock button, I can do a negative restock. I can say here, oh, there we go. Hopefully you don't get notes like that, but if you do, at least you've got a note there explaining it. So I can take that out of my inventory that way. You can also do it through a work order. So let's head to a work order right here. I just so happen to have a compressor inspection on the go. Again, a familiar site here. I've got my work order. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm working on. And if I scroll down here to the time and cost tracking section, this is where you would normally input your time if you're working on something, any vendor costs, miscellaneous costs, and other. And in our parts section, of course, you can go in here and add in a part. What you'll see is that we have relevant parts here at the top. What is a relevant part? That is anything that is assigned to the asset that you're currently working on in this work order. So it should make it really clear what parts you have to go to do this repair. For me, I now know that this compressor ball bearing is compatible with the asset that I'm working on. So I'm going to add this in here. And as you can see, we begin building up an itemized list. And I can see here the cost as well. So that begins to help with our financial tracking too. Of course, classic MaintainX work order. I'm going to go through here and just fill these out quite quickly. The fastest worker in your organization, me. That's the fastest compressor inspection anyone's ever done. I'm going to mark that as done. And there we go. As soon as that is marked as done, those units have been removed from my inventory and you're all sorted. If I head back into my parts here, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go on the history. You can see everywhere that this part has gone, everywhere that it's been used. So you can see we created that just a few minutes ago. We added some in, I took these out, and you can now see which work order it was used in. If you want to pull that up, very easy to do so. You can review the information right there. Another thing to very quickly highlight here, this is the typical view I think most people use for their parts, but I'm an Excel gal at heart. If you like a list view, you can come in here and you can see all your information together, and you can even filter, say, by your part type, by the asset it's related to, by its vendor, by its location, whatever you would like to break down your information some more. So there we go. There's a part. We covered how to make a part, how to restock a part, how to use it in a work order, and how to know when you need to reorder something. Again, if you have those questions, keep them coming in the chat. We have our keyboard warrior, Nick, on the case. So that's all very well and good. Now you know what it looks like, but how? How do we do this? How do we get involved? So firstly, how to begin using parts inventory. We need to make sure you're on an eligible plan. Parts inventory is available on premium and enterprise MaintainX plans. If you are an essential customer, don't worry, don't panic. You don't have to drop off the webinar right now. Reach out to your account manager and discuss it with them. They'll go through the options with you. As soon as you know that you are eligible, that you have that available in your plan, you head into your settings, into parts inventory, and just toggle it on. You can see through our visual on the side here, that's how we would get that done. There's a couple of strategies that I see people try mostly when it comes to getting their parts actually into the system. Firstly, one by one. What I just did right there, I made a part. Simple as that. You could do that, and you could do that for a small subsection of your parts and then go from there. The second would be through bulk importing. So it absolutely is possible to import your parts in bulk. That's something that both Nick and I spend some time doing in a day, is importing things for people. So if you have a spreadsheet available, we'll format that with you and make sure that we can pull that in one go. I'll show you what our import template looks like in just a second. The second kind of decision to make after one by one and bulk importing is, do you want to start small or do you want to dive in? Neither is better than the other here. There's no right answer per se. It really is what's going to work best for you. So I have seen customers start very successfully by just using their most important parts to start and then branching out after the fact. Especially, I think, if you're coming from no formalized tracking, that really helps make this less overwhelming. And the biggest step you have to make is just the first one. So if you want to get in even 10 to 20 parts, let's do that together and then expand it from there. Second strategy, diving right on in. If you're using an ERP system, if you have them in a spreadsheet, if you have some in MaintainX, some elsewhere, you can compile a massive list quite quickly and we can pull that into the system for one go. Hey, presto, all of your parts are in there and you're ready to start using them. In any of these cases, make sure to use your MaintainX support system. This is something that I cannot highlight enough. MaintainX customers are supported by such a wonderful structure here internally. You have your account manager. You will have most likely me or one of my colleagues, a customer success manager here, and you have our wonderful support team who are available 24 hours, 5 days a week. They are always on that chat. They respond in a matter of minutes. So whenever you are thinking of getting started with parts inventory, if you would just like a refresher on any of the information we've talked about today, if you have a question on your import or what would make sense for your specific needs and workflows, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's exactly what we're here for. We're real people, and we're happy to help. This is what I was mentioning just a second ago. This is the outline for our import workbook for parts. And you'll see that some of these columns are shaded in. That's because we're going to need a part name if we're going to import your parts. I would definitely recommend putting in the asset it's related to and its location. And I would also recommend the unit cost. The rest of these fields are entirely optional. You can choose to put information in or choose to leave them blank. Doesn't matter. We can always pull them in. If you would like to edit parts after the fact, you're always able to do so. It's not set in stone. You head to the edit button on the top right-hand side and you can make any changes there. But just so you know, this is the import workbook. If you have questions about that, let us know. We can get a link over to you. You'll be good to go. So we know how to begin using it, but now how to begin actioning it. That's where we get to the juicy bit. First things first, it's important to identify your internal goals. They're different for everybody. It might be that it falls into these two categories. This is from my experience, and I'm sure Nick as well, similar experience in our support team. I find people's goals fall into these two categories. So it's either simplifying your inventory processes, like we were saying, making reordering easier, letting people know where they need to go, reducing the amount of questions that are asked about parts in work orders. If that's the case, let's focus on organization. Let's focus on getting your data in the system as it should be and getting people adopting it, getting them using it, because that insight naturally follows. The second insights that people are often looking for, set of insights, I should say, would be asset health or replacement insights. So how do we know based on parts when we are going to replace an asset, when we need to, make a change, when something's past the point? Well, we discussed adding a part to a work order. We showed how you can record the cost of a part in there. That's the information that's going to build upon a work order and relate back to your assets. You can use your reporting module to back this up. I think I have a visual for us here on the next slide. So if we look here in your reporting tab, if you head to that time versus cost report, which just so happens to be my favorite report we have in the system, you can group that by asset. If we group it by asset, you can then order by the parts cost there, and you can see of all your assets, based on all of the work orders pertaining to them, which ones are costing you the most in terms of parts. Now, for your company, parts cost might be the higher percentage. That might be labor cost. You could also order by your overall cost. But parts are a huge percentage of that. So we really need to use this report to see when is something ready to go? When are we ready to change it? You can't make those insights unless you're using parts in your work orders and using parts inventory. So make sure to add them in and make sure to refresh your reporting dashboard at the interval of your choice to make sure you know when you can make those asset health insights. A quick poll for you here before we head to our Q&A. Which MaintainX feature would you like to see in an upcoming webinar? I mentioned at the beginning, this is a webinar series that we're doing, going over the basics of MaintainX features, and would be interested to see which ones you would like to see next. Ooh, we're getting some interesting responses here. The other thing I should mention is don't worry, we will cover all of these topics. They are coming up. We're deciding what order we should probably do them in. Don't you worry, if your option doesn't win, you're still going to see it at some point. You can still come back on here, see me and Nick, and we'll take you on a tour through that feature as well. Perfect. So it looks like pretty even split here, but we have in first place purchase orders and procedures. We can definitely look into those procedures, super useful in your work orders, and purchase orders, of course, very related to what we've been speaking about here today. And then following that, we have building work orders and request workflows. Maybe we can think of those in a second tier, and then meters finally. If you did put other, feel free to share with your account manager, with myself, with the support team, what feature you would like to see covered in a webinar. That may be something we haven't thought of yet, and it could absolutely be a great idea. So thank you guys for sharing that with us. It's always good insights to have. Last thing before our Q&A, we do have another upcoming event, which you may have received emails for. That's going to be our MaintainX office hours. It'll be myself and Nick on that again. Our roles will be reversed. He'll be taking the lead in that one, and I'll be there to help out. That's Tuesday, May the 30th. So this coming Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Central. In that call, we'll be diving more into your accounts. So if you have questions that are really specific to your workflows or something you think might be a bit complicated or something you think could apply to MaintainX customers across the board, come to that session prepared with your questions. We will sit down, we will go through them with you, and we'll make sure that you leave a little bit clearer on what you need. And then question time. Nick, could I steal you back from that keyboard for a little minute?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful. Do you have some questions for me?
Yeah, we do have a lot of questions in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions. I'm clicking away. My fingers are typing away to ensure that each and every one of these are answered. But we did get a few questions. One to highlight that first to start, one came up was, can we search parts by other fields besides part names?
Yeah, so that is a great question, and thank you for that. You can search parts via three things. You can either use the part name, you can use the part ID, which is a number assigned to the part by the system, or you can use part number as well. Those are the three options that you have.
Perfect. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's exactly what I advise everyone. Another question that came up is, how can we be alerted when our parts inventory goes below the minimum?
Yeah, great question. So if you have that part tagged as a critical part, you can create a team that will receive notifications when critical parts go below their desired threshold. So if you head into your teams and users section, create a team, it'll have a section there saying set as escalation team, and you select critical parts. Every person you put in that team, so be careful who you put in there, But every person you put in that team will receive an email notification when that part goes below its desired threshold.
Perfect. Another one that came up, and I hear this all the time. If I wanted to use smaller proportions of my parts, for example, I have oil or I have gas, and I wanted to use a small denomination or maybe a liter or half a liter in doing a work order, how can I represent that in my MaintainX? Because there is no 0.5s or quarter fraction. So how can I record that in my MaintainX instance?
That's a really good question, and it's something that we are, looking into. We don't have fractional quantities available in MaintainX right now. The workflow I would usually recommend for this is think about what the smallest instance of that part would be. So say if you have something that comes in a liter, if the smallest amount that you would use is a milliliter, put that as the unit size and then times up from there. So go down to that smallest denomination. If you're looking at something that could be used in, what's an example? Or even let's take a liter and say you could use a quarter liter. If you have 10 liters in your inventory, then you have 10 by 4, so you have 40 quarter liters within your inventory. Use that smallest denomination that you would use in a work order, have that be 1 unit, and then take it up from there.
That's correct. And just to add, it's adding when you do break it down, if you're completing a work order and you need to add like half a liter, then you're adding a costing based on that quantity, that breakdown. So it's good to, and that really helps with your reporting as well to really understand how your inventory is being used. And of course, even that broken down by quarter or half a liter, you can represent that in your work orders at the end of the month or the end of the year or the fiscal session to understand time between cost between time and then of course parts used.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great point, Nick. Do we have any other questions for us?
No, I mean, well, we do have a lot of questions, but I think that's just the top ones I've seen so far. I'm typing away, and every single question, if we can answer them directly in the chat right now, I think what I'll do, I'm definitely going to follow up with everyone in the chat or email everyone, or at least try and tell whatever I can. But there is a lot of great questions, and it's coming. And I'm really, really happy, for the engagement and the questions. And again, as the Parts is very functional. Parts is amazing right now, but we're building and we're taking everyone's feedback by what they're looking for, what they need, and making sure Parts is in the next 3 to 6 months, Parts is going to be everything that everybody's expecting. So thank you again so much for all the questions.
Yeah, and keep those questions coming. Like I say, we do have, I'll just hop back here. We do have our office hours as well, where we can dive a bit deeper into your questions. You do have your support system as well. So remember your account manager, myself, or our customer success team, and the support team here. We are available and on hand to help out at any time. And if you have things like feature requests as well, if you're seeing things here today that you like and you think for your needs, we could take that a bit further, or there's something you think would be cool to add in that we don't quite have yet, please do feel free to let us know. That's how MaintainX actually comes up with most of its new features that we're going to be working on and releasing, is from your feedback. At the end of the day, this is a system that's supposed to make life better and easier for you. So we really take all your feedback into consideration. So let us know, and we would be happy to submit that for future consideration. One thing I did just think of that I will show you quickly. Some people don't know how to reach our support team. No problem at all. It happens to the best of us. If you're looking in my MaintainX account right here, head right down on here to the bottom left-hand corner, contact MaintainX, and that, not in real life, but that's where Nick and his team live. So they'll be here all the time to answer your questions and keep that dialogue going. But for now, I hope this helped you learn some more about parts. I hope this was a productive session. And thank you for coming. Don't forget to join us for our office hours. We'll be here on Tuesday, but I hope the rest of you have a wonderful day. And again, thanks for joining Nick and I here today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.